I don't actually do any work in game until probably the final 5 minutes. That's when you know what the score might be. I mean, certainly there are times when you can get things earlier, but more often than not, I've had to have 2 stories going at the same time because there is an overtime or a shootout or there's kind of dramatics that happen. I grew up loving sports, playing sports, a little bit of everything, lacrosse, soccer, basketball. Thought I was going to go pro in basketball. Turns out there is not a high demand for 5'6" posts. But when I was 18, I had the opportunity to be the stats girl for our varsity hockey team. Learned the ins and outs of a game that I'd always admired from afar, but just didn't really pay much attention to. Couple that with my affinity for writing, I decided I was going to write for the NHL someday. I told everybody that would listen that was the goal. I immersed myself into everything writing about sports. I was covering football, I was covering basketball, swimming and diving, track and field, just anything that I could get my hands on, any sporting events that I could learn from. Plenty of failures. I graduated Iowa State with 13 different internships, both in media broadcast, newspaper writing, a little bit of magazine editing. From there, I went to Colorado Springs, interned at USA Hockey, where I continued to fall in love with hockey. Upon leaving that internship, went back to Brainerd, Minnesota, and I cover school board and city council and the very not fun stuff, but it still allowed me to use my journalism degree in a way that was kind of fun. I got to storytell because at the end of the day, that's my favorite part about this job. It's not always going to be sports either, and it's not always going to be the sport you care about. In addition to writing about city council and school board, I have written about ostrich races and the Boxing Hall of Fame, things that I knew nothing about and things that I really probably had no particular interest in, but I had to find an interest in. Because certainly if you are writing about something that you're disinterested in, that's going to come across in your writing. I will never forget the first time my editor came up to me and he said, "You didn't care about this story, did you?" And I said, I didn't. Why is that bad? He's like, "It's terrible. I can tell in every sentence." You know, you come to that point in time in your career where you're like, okay, I have to find a job. I gave myself so much leeway. I've been chasing this dream. And that's the biggest thing I think that's always separated me is even while I took other jobs like this newspaper reporting job, it wasn't exactly what I had envisioned for myself. It wasn't what I wanted, but I continued to chase that dream on the side. I continued to apply for jobs as they opened. I continued to find ways that I could intermingle hockey with my news reporting. I think if you really believe in yourself and you really truly want something, you will make it happen. You have to have this belief in yourself that you can achieve whatever you want to do and know that you can make it happen. And I think that's something that hard work will certainly tell you. You know, we started my podcast in 2019, something that just happened across my way. My producer, Fred, he was working for the Minnesota Wild, loved what I did, and said, "You want to start a podcast?" I said, "Sure." Biggest thing I've learned in media today, it's not just one thing. You can't just be a writer. You kind of have to be well-versed in all of it. Using the podcast as a platform to talk about the growth of hockey and all the good that's we found in the sport that I love so much. I am Jessi Pierce, a writer for NHL.com. Podcast host, mama 3, kind of the one-woman band in a sense, but doing it all best I can.